This video demonstrates the alternate form of the foreach command and the getRelated method for WMI objects. The foreach command can be used in a pipeline to execute a script block once for each object coming through the pipe, and the object is placed in the $_ variable. Depending on what you're doing in the script block, you may have other uses for $_ in pipes inside the script block. It can be clearer to write your code using the form where we say foreach, then some parentheses, and in there we specify a variable name to use to hold each object from a collection, so that when the script block runs, it puts an object from that collection into your named variable, runs the script block, goes and gets the next one from the collection and puts it in your named variable, and so on. When you do this, you can take the output of this and put the collection of whatever it produces into a variable for later use. In the case of this script, we're using getWMIObject to retrieve all the physical network adapter objects. We're going to run that through a pipe so that we can filter based on the adapter type name. We want to use the match test that says it simply has to contain this string of characters somewhere. We want the word Ethernet. So when we get all these physical network adapter objects and filter them for the adapter type matching the string Ethernet, we'll get a collection of Ethernet style adapters that we'll store in a variable called Ethernet adapters. Then we're going to go through that collection using foreach, putting each one into the adapter temporary variable so that we can do some work based on that adapter. The work we want to do is to extract some properties from the physical adapter and also find its associated configuration object and pull some properties from there to create a new custom object that has all of the data we want in it for later manipulation, such as printing in a list or table. To get the associated configuration for a network adapter object, we can use the getRelated method of those WMI objects and specify the related object class we want. So each adapter is a network adapter, and it has network adapter information. So it'll have things like a connection ID, it'll have things like a physical speed and a type and a few other things that are specific to the hardware. We're going to get the associated or related network adapter configuration object out of WMI for each adapter and store it in a temporary variable called NAC, or network adapter configuration. Then we can go ahead and create a new object of generic type and specify a property list using our hash syntax, as we have been doing lots of times already. We're going to be creating these having names and values. And since the values are going to be assigned fairly simply, we don't need to have each property created using separate hash syntax. We can simply say a property name equals some value, something to assign into it. Some of these values are going to come from the adapter object, the hardware object that came out of the Ethernet adapters collection. Some of our new properties are going to come from the configuration object which was a related configuration for this adapter. So all of these values are going to come from one or the other of either the original hardware adapter or the configuration object for that adapter. Most of them are very straightforward. We just have to choose which object to source it from. Some of them we want to be a little more sophisticated. For example, in the IP address property, if there is no configured IP address or it has something unusual in it, we don't want to display it. We only want to display IPv4 addresses in this particular report. So we'll use the index of method, which is used with strings, to go ahead and examine the string and see if there's a period anywhere in that string. If there is, if the index is non-zero, if it found a period somewhere in the string, which is produced by looking at the IP address property of our configuration object, then we're going to be saving that in our custom IP property. We do something similar with net mask. Again, we're looking for dot somewhere in there to indicate it's a valid subnet mask. We have two properties that have special characters in their names. Parentheses in one case, a space in the other. So those property names need to be put in quotes. You could put all property names in quotes for consistency, but you don't have to. We have one property here, which is produced by performing a little arithmetic. In the physical adapter, we have a property called speed. The speed number is the number of bytes per second. Actually, it's bits per second from the adapter. We're going to divide that by 1,000,000 and make sure to convert it to an integer. If for whatever bizarre reason it comes out fractional, we don't want the fraction. And that's going to be stored as our speed. In other words, our speed is measuring in megabits, not in bits per second, which is why we have a custom property name. Once we have this new object built from our two source objects, we're done with this adapter, and we can have our script block execute again for any additional adapters there may be in our collection. If there are no adapters in the collection, if the Ethernet adapters variable is empty, this for each loop simply doesn't run. There's nothing to put in the adapter variable. Once we have run it though, hopefully we have some objects created, some custom objects in our configured adapters variable. We can go ahead and take that and pipe it to a format list command or a format table to display our output. If you do it as a table, you'll need a very wide window to display that table because the data is very long with all those properties. If you format it as a list, it's the same data, but it's a little easier to read.